In this section, what we're going to be doing is capturing the tree expand event here. And when we hit the tree expand event, we want to go and get the customer name and the account number. Customer name to put in the tree view, and the customer number to put in the value of that element that we're adding, so that at a later stage, when we click on the customer, we can use the account number to go and do a direct query for the customer details. So if we're looking at geographic area, the value of each of these elements here has the key of the geographic area. So I think that, for instance, northern region there, the key is an N. So if you were thinking about a select statement or a COMFND call, you might imagine it saying select account number name from the customer file where the area equals N, and it's relatively straightforward. However, if we look at the alphabetic list, it's slightly different. If you're going to be doing it in Transact SQL, you'd probably take the first character of the name, do some fancy work with substring, and be able to query, select all the names beginning with an A as an example, or all the names beginning with a B. But COMFND can't support SQL functions like substring, so we have to think of another way. So what the easiest way of doing this is to say that if, for instance, I hit tree expand on the B, as I'm building this tree view, the value at level B will say the letter is a B, but the next letter is a C, and at C it'll say the value is C, and the next letter is D. So then I'm able to say in the COMFND, select the account number and the name, where the name is greater than a B and less than a C, if you get the general idea. So that's what we've implemented. I'll just go and show you the script now. Good, we're here. So first of all, I've turned off our messages by setting that to false. And I just want to go down to my populate. We'll come back to the tree view event in a minute, but I just want to go down to populate view to show you what I've been doing. So in this little loop here, so just on the alphabetical list, basically I'm picking up the letter from that we're going over, and then I'm picking up the next letter. And then on the last Z, obviously there is no next letter, so I'm using the underscore. So at every element I've got, I know the letter I'm looking for and the next letter that it's got to be less than. So that's how I'm building that up. If we come back up here, then what we've done is I've expanded the tree expand event. First of all, I am taking the parameter 1, which is returning the value of each of the elements, or the element that I've expanded. And what I've done is in between the elements, I've used a pipe sign. So I'm basically saying split the parameter 1 on the pipe sign and put it into an array called segments. And then I know that the first letter is segment 1 and the second letter is segment 2. So I'm saying if it's an alphabetical list, call this function, pass it the list by A or G, in this case A, take the first letter and the second letter. If it's G, as an example, I'm using the same function, passing it to G. Now, I know I could have made the second variable optional. I don't particularly like doing that. So I'm just simply passing the same segment in twice, because there is only the one segment. Let's have a look at list view, list customer names function, which I've put down here. And we see we're taking in our A or G and our 2 variables into here. A little bit of a message box just to check that I've got it right. And basically what I'm doing, I'm building XML param for my COMFND. So table name is AR customer. We're actually only after number of rows, could have taken that out. We want the customer account number and the name. So they're the columns we want. And dependent on the A or the G, I'm just building 2 separate where clauses. so that's greater than the first letter and less than the second letter. Fairly straightforward. So we'll end up with a COMFND, and then it's exactly the same as with the geographic area lists. We make the call, we do a bit of checking, we check for any other errors, and ultimately we return the list of customer names. So if you remember from the COMFND little detour we had, we are now getting a list of rows. So once we've done that, quickly get back up to our bit of code here. So we've now got the returning XML from COMFND, and then we actually pass it along with param2, which we know is the parent, and we're passing it to that function there. So in fact, what I can do here, I guess, is go down to here. So we're taking our XML and we're loading it into the DOM. We are creating our node list, looking for all the rows. And then for each node list, we're building the items exactly the same as we use for the geo area. So let's come out of here and run our code. Let's just see what's actually going to happen. Okay, so what we're going to do here is do a tree expand. Hey, presto. So what's actually happened, the tree expand event is fired. We've gone off, done our COMFND. We've added it to our list view. And when the tree expand occurred, we had the node ID of the of B, which will be 1, 2, 3. We made that the parent, and there they are. I've also done a little bit of a trap so that if we don't have any customers beginning with A, I'm just saying there are no customers to list. You can have a look at that code. And the same with the geographical area. We can just quickly flick on there and it's doing exactly the same. Okay, so looking pretty good. So the next section that we've actually got to do is we've got to be able to click on one of these and go and get the customer data and populate some forms over here. So we'll be adding a couple of forms and the logic for getting the customer data. Okay, so what we now need to do is work on the tree clicked event so that when we click an item on our tree view, we will go and get customer data. There are a couple of things we need to trap first. On the parent, if we click on the parent, which we know we did get a tree clicked event, I didn't put any value property to that. So if I then try to pick the value up in param1 and put it into an array, is going to fail. So the first check here is to say if param2, which is the node ID of the thing you've clicked on, is 1, which is the parent, then get out of here, which is fine. So we solve that. Then the next thing we'll do is on every other thing we click on, we're going to pick up param1 and we are going to split the value around the pipe sign into an array called segments, which is what we've done before. But this time we're basically saying if segment 0 is not a customer or CUS, then exit. So if you clicked on a geographic area or anything else in the tree view, then it's going to bail out and not go any further. So by the time we get to this point here, we know that we've clicked on one of the customer names and it will have the relevant information that we want on it. So the first thing we do, just for readability more than anything else, is I'm picking up segment 1 and putting it into a variable to customer number, and then I'm actually calling the Syspro call out to show the busy or the hourglass or the spinning thing. I'm passing the customer number into a function called getCustomer, and for the time being, all I'm going to do is just bang a message box up here with the XML out, because getCustomer data is going to run the business object ARS query and chuck the XML out. So we'll just make sure that all that is working before we start to try and populate any forms. So if we have a quick look at get customer data here, those of you who are sharp-eyed and did the getting started course may well recognize this little function, because I've just simply copied and lifted it from there. But basically, we're taking the customer number, we are building the parameter XML for ARSQRY. There's the customer number that we want there. We will call the customer business object. We do a bit of checking around the XML. We run our Syspro check for errors, because this is something that we may well get customer not on file back, in which case we will bang up a message box with it. There's our log file, just to make sure that, just checking things. And then I'm actually bobbing the XML straight back out of the function. So it's actually a very, very simple thing to do at the moment. So that's all we've added so far. So we just need to go and just check. And if we've got it right, then what's going to happen is when we click on the customer name, we will get our XML out, bobbing up into a message box. Okay, so this is where we start. Our form has run its initialization. We've got our alphabet, so we'll do an expand and we'll get our customers. And if we click on a customer now, you run the business object, and up comes our XML, which is good. So we can see our sold to addresses and all the other bits and pieces. And try something like bikes and blades. Same thing. So that's working. Just to make sure that this is working, but there's no reason why it shouldn't, because it's actually running exactly the same piece of code. It's on the tree clicked event. So we'll do that. And there it is. Okay, so we're in a good place now. So we've got our Treeview working. We've got our expand working. We've got our tree clicked event getting the right data. So all we've got to do now is take that XML and populate it into some form of form. The next step we've got to take is add the controls that are going to create the areas for us to put our form data in. Now, in the Getting Started course, we use the form control here. And that form control is the control that the standard Syspro programs use. And in our example, it looked identical to the Syspro standard program. In this example, I want to use a XAML control. Now, we'll add the XAML control here. Now, the XAML control is an extremely interesting control, and is probably worth a video course just on its own. It's basically a lightweight, fast XAML rendering control. It works on a subset of the full XAML language, but which is what makes it very, very fast. And if you need to know the subset of the language, then that's all in the user guide. You can work it out from there. The key thing about the XAML control is that it will render any XAML string sent to it. So you can design pages that look like web pages. If you look in the weather sample app or the cocktail sample app, both use XAML controls to render pictures and data and all sorts of things like that. Now, the trouble with something like that is it's remarkably complex to create something that looks reasonable. So Syspro and the app designer have provided us with the concept of a template. If we look here down at the bottom right, we can select a template, and we're going to be using single column forms. Now, if we select a single column form, we'll see in our pane here that it's expecting a heading and caption value pairs. So what is going to happen is if we present it with an XML string of fields which define the caption and the value, App Designer is going to take the template for single column forms, and it's going to merge the two for us and display the result, taking all the complexity out of designing the XAML and making sure that it works for us. If we quickly have a look at the other templates, then we've got a similar type of border, a similar type of form, but it draws borders around everything. There's a template for cards, which you can see in the standard Syspro, and tiles, which if you look at the completed getting started demonstration, then you'll see tiles being used to display invoice details. So we'll go back to our single form. We need another one of these, and we will make that single column form. We are going to rename these, and we'll call that customer info, and we'll call this one financial info, and we will drag the financial info underneath the customer info like that. Okay, so theoretically then, what we're going to expect is if we run the program, we will see our Treeview and we will see these two forms here. Let's just check that that's going to work. And there we go. So now all we've got to do is when we get our customer data, we've got to extract the relevant data from our data. So we have a look here. We'll do Bayside Bikes. So we've got to take that XML data. We're going to extract the bits that we want from it. I'll use the same technique as in getting started. I'll probably put it in a scripting dictionary. We will then use the scripting dictionary to create the fields for each of these forms, and hey presto, hopefully it will work. So that's what we're going to do next. Good. Well, we can now see that we're on the home straight of populating our two XAML forms. But whilst we're here, I just wanted to flag with you something that occasionally happens. Building apps like this, pane by pane, and testing it at each stage, sometimes you get to a point like we are now, where you can add a form or a XAML control, you run the application, and the panes don't appear. And you think, good grief, what have I done wrong now? But in fact, you've done nothing wrong. What has been going on is that, like with the standard Syspro, the application has been remembering pane layouts for the user. And if you've been playing around with the panes and moving them around in your app, when you come to add new panes and it runs, it sort of says, well, I don't know anything about these ones. You must have hidden them, so I won't display them. So just as a side, you just need to do a reset layout here, and it will get rid of the layout that you've been running and reapply the design one that you put on. So that sometimes catches me out. Secondly, we've also find that we've put a pane title here, and I know, and we'll see it in a short while, that the single form also has a heading section here as well, and it's likely that they will probably be the same, because we're going to call them customer info and financial info. So we will nip in and tidy that up as well. So I'll just shut this down. If we go to our XAML control, there's our title, and just down here, show pane caption, we can turn that off. And the same with this one, to pane caption off, and that's gone like that. So what I want to do now is take you through the code changes that we've actually been doing. Now, one of the things I quite like to do is that when a form pops up and I know I'm going to populate something, but if it's empty, I'd rather not display it. So what you'll find here, I'm just going to uncomment these two lines. So we're in our initialization event here, and this is a pane close on both those two panes. Now you find that in docking pane callouts, and it's down here, pane close. So you've got pane open and pane close. So What these pane close will just make the pane disappear. Pane open clearly will make it appear again, which we'll be using lower down. Pane hide and pane show. Pane hide means that the pane will go to the side of your app and you'll end up with a little tab. And pane show will drag the tab back out again. So there's slightly different ways of working. Okay, so we're in the our logic for trapping the Treeview event. If we go down to our tree clicked trap here, we were just doing a message box earlier on. Now what I'm doing now is I'm passing my XML out into a function called extract data. Again, those of you who did the getting started course will recognize this as soon as you see it. And the response out of there is a scripting dictionary I've called custdict here. Then we will take that dictionary, we'll pass it and the name of the two XAML panes into something called populate XAML form, and then we open the two forms, and if we've got it right, we should see some data in those forms. So let's quickly go and have a look at extract data. And we nip up here, extract data. So extract data is taking the XML from the query that we had, the ARSQRY query. We're loading into the DOM. You'll recognize all this. So we set the node, we select the node of the information that we want, in this case name. We check that it actually is there. If you make a reference to a node either through a spelling mistake or the fact that maybe the query occasionally doesn't have it in, then we are adding to our custom dictionary the label name and the text, and we just simply go down all the bits and pieces of the XML doing this. Now I like to do it this way because it makes tidy code. All these great long lists of paths in XML are in one place, and now I'm just passing the dictionary back. And then what you saw earlier on, the dictionary comes into populate XAML form along with the customer information form and the financial form. So let's have a quick look at what we're doing here. Basically, we're building an XML string here of a form, end form. It's got a heading. There's our customer information that we're going to put on there. And then for each label data element on that form, we have a field element. So we can see here, for instance, that this is field. The caption is called, or let's go further down. The caption is called name. The value is, I would choose a difficult one, isn't it? The value going in there is the item from the custom dictionary called name. Now, notice here that I've run it through check special characters as well. That's because one of the customers in here is called bikes and blades with the ampersand in. And of course, if you bang an ampersand in the middle of an XML string, it's going to go pear-shaped. So we just simply make sure that when we pick up the name, we run it through this and the result will end up in here. A little bit complicated explanation, I know, but sorry about that. Possibly a little bit easier. Here's a field called contact, and we'll pick up, and in the value, we pick up the item called contact from our custom dictionary. At the end, all we're doing is creating a bog standard XML string. So we can output it if we want to and check it. Same thing for the financial information. And then we are setting the form values, XML. So we're saying call the Syspro function XAML values, and we are passing the string that we've just built into financial form. And we did the same up here. We built the string we passed the string we built into the customer information form with these, and you'll see those in the XAML callouts here. So it's actually really remarkably simple. All we're doing, once again, is getting a load of data. We build a XAML string, we pass it to the app designer, and it does all the legwork for us, which is great. So let's just go and see if that's actually going to work. We'll run our app. Good. Well, we can now see that we're on the home straight of populating our 2 XAML forms. But whilst we're here, I just wanted to flag with you something that occasionally happens. Building apps like this, pane by pane, and testing it at each stage, sometimes you get to a point like we are now where you can add a form or a XAML control, you run the application and the panes don't appear. And you think, good grief, what have I done wrong now? But in fact, you've done nothing wrong. What has been going on is that, like with the standard Syspro, the application has been remembering pane layouts for the user. And if you've been playing around with the panes and moving them around in your app, when you come to add new panes and it runs, it sort of says, well, I don't know anything about these ones. You must have hidden them, so I won't display them. So just as a side, you just need to do a reset layout here, and it will get rid of the layout that you've been running and reapply the design one that you put on. So that sometimes catches me out. Secondly, we've also found that we've put a pane title here, and I know, and we'll see it in a short while, that the single form also has a heading section here as well, and it's likely that they will probably be the same because we're going to call them customer info and financial info. So we'll nip in and tidy that up as well. So I'll just shut this down. If we go to our XAML control, there's our title, and just down here, show pane caption, we can turn that off. And the same with this one, to pane caption off, and that's gone like that. So what I want to do now is take you through the code changes that we've actually been doing. Now, one of the things I quite like to do is that when a form pops up and I know I'm going to populate something, but if it's empty, I'd rather not display it. So what you'll find here, I'm just going to uncomment these 2 lines. So we're in our initialization event here, and this is a pane close on both those 2 panes. Now you find that in docking pane callouts, and it's down here, pane close. So you've got pane open and pane close. So what these pane close will just make the pane disappear. Pane open clearly will make it appear again, which we'll be using lower down. Pane hide and pane show. Pane hide means that the pane will go to the side of your app and you'll end up with a little tab, and pane show will drag the tab back out again. So there's slightly different ways of working. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll just go and run our app and see that it all works. Good, excellent. So our forms have gone because we did our close. We click on our expand, we hit Bayside Bikes. And hey presto, brilliant. So there we are. We've got all our data in our XAML forms. And if we do bikes and blades with our ampersand in, look, it actually works because of that check XML things. So where we are now is I want to be able to right click on here on both bikes and blades or the customer, get a context menu coming up, which will give me an opportunity of running the standard Syspro customer query program, the full-blown Syspro program. Good, we've almost done it.